Good afternoon. As we put an ending to this season, I want to start off by thanking our players and coaches for all they put into it. They spent a lot of time away from their families, a lot of dedication, a lot of hours to put a great product on the field for our organization, our fans, and that last locker room scene is a tough one, where you didn't end up where you wanted to go. A really special team to be a part of. That they had such belief in each other, had great relationships. So that was a tough scene. But I just want to start off by thanking them, our football operations staff and personnel staff, who the unsung heroes of this thing, and help us run as a great efficient machine. And they spent a lot of time at this, and just want to make sure that I start by saying that. And our great fans showed up to support us in every stadium, different countries. They were a big part of why this season was so special. I made a lot of great memories. And then our great owners who continue to push us and give us the resources to excel and be run as a world-class organization. And we're always indebted to that. Though this season didn't end where we wanted it to, I did want to take a second to appreciate what we were able to accomplish. 14 wins, a playoff berth, and one of the best divisions in recent memory. I think we've laid the foundation for a really competitive, sustained team. A lot of smart, tough guys who love football. I think you can build and do a lot of great things with a group like that. Although it didn't, obviously it didn't go where you want it to go. And so you want to make sure at the same time you're appreciating what happened with really trying to study the feeling we have right now, why we're not continuing on in the tournament. It's that the go-between between the large sample of the success, but the small sample where it didn't go your way, and you want to make sure that you don't throw out the small sample, but you don't want to overweight it, you don't want to underweight it. It's it's the exercise we'll undertake as a team, and that always starts with ultimate accountability, and that'll start with KO and I. We'll claw and we'll figure out ways to get the rest of the way where we want to go. We know we haven't gotten there yet, but we're really excited at the path we're on. With that, I'll take questions.
Kwesi, when we talked to you before the season, you talked about different expectations and potential outcomes. I guess, how do you view this as one of the best possible outcomes you could have seen, and what that means to kind of the bigger picture?
That's a great question, Collar. It's, going into the season, I thought we would be a really competitive, playoff team. I did. I can't say that I sat here and said we were going to win 14 games. I'm not going to lie to anybody and say that. But we liked the players we brought in. We thought we had a good chance with our quarterback room to get really good play out of that, however that shook out. We knew we had a connected group. We had players already here who were shown to be resilient and win one-score games, all those different things that we've established over the first 2 years. So I wasn't surprised that we were a playoff team. But sometimes when you're on the journey, your expectations sort of shift, and that can happen. You almost reset expectations based on how it's going. But I'm going to try, and I'm not there yet, but I will try to step back and just reflect on it in its totality, and make sure that I appreciate for what it is. Did we outperform, underperform, expectations? And you have to do that by looking at a player level, what performances you got, different things like that, and looking at the metrics we do, and just collaborate with our great group and figure that out. But, it's hard to answer that right now just because you're still just so stung by not being in the tournament and playing football with a great group that you think deserve more.
Does your success in free agency this year, building this year's team, does that influence how you approach free agency this year?
I think I always talk about it in terms of acquisition channels, and there's so many ways to do it, whether you approach it in free agency, poach, trade, draft, all those different things. We've had players that we've had here and we developed into bigger roles. It's always about identifying what you have in your building, and then knowing where you need to go as a championship team in terms of a talent roster standpoint, and going from there. Last year, I believe, was we've got a great pro department. They prepared me kind of the year before for unique opportunities that could have come that year. So we had a dedicated strategy, knowing that we would kind of have some resources available to us for the first time since I've been here, and then some unique opportunities to pursue that. And just because you have, resources, or you want to make sure it fits within your timeline, fits within the culture, the fit of what you're trying to build. And we're excited that it worked out the way it is. Now, I do challenge my group and say that, we're going to make a lot of bets here. They're not always going to go, all well. I think we had a really good outcome. We had a really thorough process, collaboration with our coaches, exact fit, the person, all of it. And I'm so grateful that that worked out the way it did. But we'll use that same process in the draft and free agency and CFA and all those things with the ultimate goal of trying to assemble a championship caliber team.
Kwesi, I'm just wondering, there was obviously kind of the initial free agent class and then the signings that were a little bit more in response to difficult things that happened. And I'm just kind of wondering, how you've been able to reflect on whether it was Shaq and Stephon Gilmore bringing them in, or even making the trade for Cam Robinson, and how those things were able to help the team and be fairly seamless.
Yeah, you go over all your decisions and really, think about why you did them to start. You talk about Cam Robinson. Obviously, somebody was able to come over in a trade and help us the first week he was there. And, there's not many Christian Darasols walking around this earth. We all know that. He's one of the best players in this league. And so we tried to get somebody to come in here and play good football for us and fit into what we were doing, and we were really excited with what Cam did for us. We knew from an asset standpoint of what it would cost, but also potentially what it could be on the back end and what that would net us as a team. And you're always asking those questions in terms of, okay, well then what needs am I going to have in the future? How is that going to change my planning? So I think that one in particular, we feel really great about what we did. Shaq, Steph, wasn't all, and those were great ones because it wasn't just about the player, but it was also about who the young guys in that room get to learn from. Now Mekhi Blackman and then Dwight McLaughlin get to learn from. You talking about consummate professionals in a scheme that requires a pretty high intellect and teaching them football. It's so great when I get to be on the sideline and listening to those guys. And the classroom isn't just between coaches and players. It's players to players. And so we're really excited about that. And yeah, the season is this thing. It's this beautiful plan you have. You go in with expectations about what's supposed to happen. And then what did Mike Tyson say? The Mike Tyson thing, you get punched in the face and you got to react and you got to figure stuff out. It's one of my favorite challenges about this job because when you're in that moment, you're deciding whether this move we're going to make is going to be a difference between a 7-win team, an 8-win team, a 9-win team. And you got to ask yourself that question in week 5. And that takes a lot of projection, a lot of different things. And a lot of that comes from my trust in this coaching staff and Kevin to, when we bring in players, get the most out of them and understand how we're going to fit together as a team. And, again, we will continue to make those moves because I think since we've been here, they've worked out a lot because of our process and our collaboration.
How will you look at your quarterback room, this offseason and heading into next year? And do you want Sam Darnold back?
I think the golden question I think I've gotten, so much through this year, as Sam was playing great, as JJ started out his career playing great and making moves for Daniel Jones is, you're talking about the most important position in our sport. And I don't think it's a bad thing to assemble a lot of talented players in that room who fit your vision, fit how you want to play football, fit from a personal standpoint what you want to do. And so I think that was the mindset we came in with, and God, we got to see Sam play some incredible football for us. Won a lot of big games, at Seattle, at Lambeau. The production that he was able to do, we're talking about games where he won them for us. There was a lot of games where he was a win because of type player. And you also have to net that with, all of the in totality. So, we're going to approach this offseason, and I don't want to give you the stock answer, but it really is everything we do is about, okay, well, what's the team around them going to look like? What does this piece fit into our whole championship equation? And we'll do those exercises like we did last offseason and came up with the plan that we came up with. We'll have those conversations with Kevin, my staff, everybody in this building to come along board because at the end of the day, you're making decisions under uncertainty. But what happens is once you find a course of action, it's about how you implement your plan, how you show up every day and get the best version of whoever you decide to go with the quarterback. How does that fit in to your long-term picture, the contract structure, all those different things will go into our plan. And I'm excited to have those conversations because, I think we've got a lot of good options. And at the most important position in the sport, I think that's a great thing.
You mentioned McCarthy, though. I mean, from a physical standpoint alone, where is he at, and how can you kind of think about what he might do until he's at that point?
Yeah, he's on the field throwing and training. I try and go get a walk in before I talk to you guys, so I don't talk as quickly. You know, that's what people tell me. I talk a little quick sometimes. So I was in there, and he was actually in there doing some, you know, those cool quarterback thrusty things that Dak does. You know, with weights, he was in there doing them. He looks great. He's excited. You know, you talk about a kid who's just obsessed with football and loves being around the game. So we're excited about what we have in him. We're excited for this offseason for him. It's a big offseason. And then, you know, we'll continue from there.
Did that change did Sam's play change the thinking here? Because I mean, JJ was taken with the 10th pick, which is a very high pick.
Right.
Like, as Sam progressed and had success, did that internally change discussions with you and Kevin and the staff? Or are you pretty much still in the thought process of what you thought on that April night when you took JJ Kwesi?
I mean, when you think about that decision, again, I talked about the most important position in the sport. You want to give yourselves options. You know, I think the draft is uncertain, free agency, all of this is uncertain, and we brought in two guys that we think we could play at a high level, quarterback in this position. And obviously, JJ being a high draft pick is somebody that you're invested in for the future and all those different things. How that looks timeline-wise, we didn't necessarily decide, but we knew that we really liked the room that we had, and we were confident in that. I always ask Kevin before the season starts, hey, what, you know, something that one of my old bosses used to do to me, you know, what information would you need to kind of change your mind? And say it beforehand so that you're not kind of whipped around with what potentially could happen. And we've had those conversations beforehand. And look, we thought there was a chance Sam Darnold could play at a high level. You know, just seeing what he had done previous stops and what kind of Kevin's infrastructure and our infrastructure here has done for other quarterbacks that have played here, we thought there was a chance for a high level. Did I know it was going to be a Pro Bowl? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that. And I think I joked with Sam that I'm going to retire off the bet I made in Vegas. I'm kidding, not allowed to bet. But I think that, you know, there was some part of us that all believed that Sam was going to have a really good season, and so that when we made the move, that was part of the calculus. And, you know, I think everybody looks at these things as binary, yes, no, left, right, and I don't think it is that. I think it's making sure you have a certain level of play at the quarterback position for as long as Kevin and I are here. And I think we've set ourselves up to do that, and we're excited about that opportunity.
Kwesi, if JJ is physically ready for the start of the spring, what's your comfort level with the possibility of him starting in 2025? Did he get enough preparation while recovering from that injury to make that a possibility?
You know, I think he was. Again, we don't know what was going to happen in this. You know, obviously in the finish of the training camp, but you know, he got a great mental year. You know, as a redshirt year, but mentally, the process that they had, just, you know, in our exit meetings with him, just talking about how much he learned this year as compared to other years in his football life, just, you know, exponential, which you would expect for a young player in this building. And so I think. And we're really confident in him, his work ethic, and his preparation. But I can't sit here and tell you I know anything for certain. I know that I'm willing to believe in the person that we have. That position is about talent and preparation, and he's got those things in spades. And so if that's the course of action we decide, we'll go there confidently.
Did you learn enough about Daniel Jones to know if he could be a possible option here last year?
You know, that was one of the good parts about, you know, that move was just trying to see, you know, just give ourselves options depending on what potentially could happen this offseason. And just being in it's not the talent, because obviously you can watch film and see the talent, although it does help to see it up close at times, but really just how he is in meetings, the types of questions he asks, the dynamics in the room, different things like that. And that was a great opportunity for us and for Daniel also. It's two ways to see if this is the building he wants to be in, and I'll keep our conversations private in our exit interviews, but I think you know, he's a potential option for us going forward. And again, most important position in the sport, we're excited to have potential options that we think he can come here and give us a certain required level of play that will help us compete in games.
Kwesi, would you echo what Kevin said late Monday about needing to fix the interior of the offensive line?
You know, I think having studied it, I would agree with what he said. What I would say is, though, I think a lot of times everybody hears that and thinks that it's the answer is kind of simple, and the answer can come from different ways. It could come from a different player. It could come from a player year over year, you know, improving. It could come from, you know, how we do things from a pass protection standpoint. You know, those two games revealed some, issues in there that were tougher to overcome. How do you overcome them? And that's what's beautiful about football. It's this complex sport. If you want to run the football, there's a lot of ways to do it. You could maybe get better at receiver and make them play you a certain way. And so we'll approach this offseason trying to fix the team with that creativity, that mindset in place. We'll collaborate with Kevin, but we want to be in a place where we're still playing football, and to win these last games, any potential places where teams can attack, you've got to be ready for, not just from your starting lineup, but from your two deep. And so we want to set ourselves up to be in that position and going from there.
Kwesi, how do you assess your draft outcomes here, and to what extent do you think things need to be done differently?
I think you study all these things. And the draft is one of those things. It's amazing that I get asked these questions because one of my first jobs was just you're looking at hit rates and success rates in different rounds and different things like that. And what is a 7-round pick allocation net in terms of a solid starters or backups and all those different things. And it's the most interesting job in the world. I think not in the world, but it's just a really interesting thought experiment to me. You have to look at it in reference to, I don't want to say probability. We all know that the top quintile of the draft exponentially are better than the lower quintile of the first round draft, right? First round. What is your pick allocation? Talk about 2023, where part of my pick allocation went to T.J. Hockenson. And so it's looking at it in total, trying to see if there's anything that we could have missed, could have done better, perspectives, different things like that. That's an ongoing process. If I had the best draft my first year, I think I'd still be on that process to beat it. I think we'll always be in that place of ultimate accountability, ultimate looking inward for self-improvement. And so, I understand where that question comes from. What's hard sometimes is, you're building a championship team. You're trying to build a team in this time horizon. So if you draft a player this year, I know the world is such where everybody wants instant gratification today and tomorrow, and that's not how the good teams are built. They address wants before their wants. You try and find unique opportunities when they can, knowing where you think is going to be your time horizon, where you think you'll be picking in the next couple of years. Think about that exercise when you're trading future picks. Part of that's an expectation of how good you actually think you're going to be compared to what the market thinks. So that's an exercise we'll always continue with, always trying to get better. And I'm really confident with how our group has grown, evolved over these years. First time GM, I think there were things that I've grown at as a leader, an ability to kind of understand the information that I'm being given. When to press buttons, say this needs to be different, or when to kind of sit back and take other people's input. I think I've grown just kind of exponentially in that regards, and I'm excited about this draft. I'm excited about this offseason, this free agency period, this CFA period. It's our chance to keep climbing, keep continuing to establish what we are here, and then chase to that ultimate goal.
Kwesi, have you talked to the Wills about your contract situation and when that might happen?
I try to keep most of my conversations with ownership private, but we did share time after the season, as we always do. They come in the building, and they expressed to me their appreciation for Kevin and I's leadership, and they're really supportive of us. I'll always, my third year, I always think back to the unbelievable opportunity that they gave me. I've always dreamt of being a general manager in an organization that's trying to do the thing they haven't done before. And I still have visions. I wake up in the morning and think of what that could be like. And so I'm always going to go back to that, the gratitude that I have for them, and that I want to be the general manager going forward. I don't really wake up thinking about stuff like that. So, my conversations with them, with anybody else, I think I was at a Minnesota football game earlier this year, and somebody said, "Good luck with the contract." And it kind of woke me up, because that's just not how I live my life. I don't think I'm entitled to anything. If I signed that contract tomorrow, I'd be running like I was scared, just trying to always earn it, because somebody's chasing you, somebody's trying to be better than you. You gotta have that mindset. So I don't really spend a ton of time with that, thinking about that. I'm unbelievably grateful to be the general manager of the Vikings, and I want to continue to be so. I'm going to leave this office and keep being the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings, and work hard to try and improve this team, and whatever comes in the future will come. But that's where I'm at right now.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.